The diplomatic hall of the Celestial Union Station gleamed with bioluminescent panels, casting soft azure light across the assembled delegates. Ambassador Thelvorian of the Zephyri Empire stood among them, his crystalline skin refracting the ambient glow into prismatic patterns. Beside him, his daughter Aliana moved through the crowd with practiced grace, her delicate antennae folded tight against her head, a permanent reminder of the silence that had consumed her world since birth. James Riker leaned against the observation deck's reinforced window, watching the political theater below with the detached interest of someone who'd seen too many wars to care much about peace talks. The former Earth Defense Force combat medic had been assigned to the station as a cultural liaison, which was military speak for "we don't know what to do with you anymore." His prosthetic left arm, a marvel of human engineering, flexed unconsciously as he nursed his real coffee, not the synthetic garbage the other species preferred. "Remarkable, aren't they?" A melodic voice chimed beside him. James turned to find Aliana standing there, her violet eyes studying him with unconcealed curiosity. She held a translator pad, her fingers dancing across its surface with fluid precision. "The Zephyr." "Yeah, there's something," James replied, speaking slowly out of habit, even though he knew the pad would pick up his words. Aliana's antennae twitched. He'd learned that was their equivalent of a smile. Her fingers moved again. "Not my people, you humans. You survived the Vorath swarm with nothing but chemical propulsion and kinetic weapons. The galaxy still talks about it." James shrugged. "We're too stubborn to die quietly." Over the following weeks, an unlikely friendship formed. Aliana would find James in the station's hydroponics bay, where he cultivated a small patch of earth plants, tomatoes, basil, and sunflowers that turned toward the artificial sun. She was fascinated by humanity's obsession with growing things, even in the cold vacuum of space. One evening, as James tended to his tomatoes, Aliana's translator pad flashed. "What was it like?" The war. James's jaw tightened. "Loud, terrifying, beautiful in the worst possible way." He paused, studying her face. "But you've never heard anything, have you?" Her antennae drooped. "No. I was born this way. My father has taken me to every medical facility in 3 quadrants. The Zephyri say my neural pathways never developed. The Krell say it's genetic. The humans... She hesitated. The humans said they could help. But my father doesn't trust human medicine." "Smart man," James said, though something in his medic's brain was already working. "We tend to be a bit experimental." Days later, during a routine security drill, everything changed. The station's klaxons wailed as a derelict Vorath prober remnant from the war drifted too close to the station's outer hull. James was in the medical bay when they brought in the casualties. Minor injuries, mostly, but Aliana had been near the impact zone. She lay on the medical table, conscious but disoriented, her antennae trembling. Ambassador Thelvorian stood beside her, his crystalline face etched with concern. But James wasn't looking at either of them. He was staring at the medical scanner's readout. "What is that?" he demanded, pointing at a small pulsing shadow near Aliana's auditory cortex. The Krell doctor, a massive reptilian creature named KS's Tar, examined the scan. "Scar tissue. We've seen it before. Irrelevant to her condition. Irrelevant." James stepped closer, his combat medic instincts overriding diplomatic protocol. "That's not scar tissue. Look at the density, the electromagnetic signature. That's artificial." The room fell silent. Ambassador Thelvorian's skin flickered with alarm. "Impossible. She's been scanned hundreds of times. Not with human military-grade sensors." "You haven't." James turned to the ambassador. "Sir, I need your permission to run a deep scan. If I'm right, this changes everything." 20 minutes later, James had his answer. Embedded deep in Aliana's neural tissue was a microscopic Vorath suppressor, a weapon designed not to kill, but to silence. The galaxy had thought the Vorath only destroyed. They'd been wrong. "It's dormant now," James explained, his voice tight. "But it's been broadcasting a localized dampening field her entire life, suppressing her auditory neurons. The Vorath must have seeded these things during the war. Delayed weapons, silent genocide. Can you remove it?" Thelvorian's voice cracked, a sound James had never heard from a Zephyri. James looked at his prosthetic arm, remembering the battlefield surgery that had saved his life when conventional medicine had failed. "Human stubbornness, human audacity. I can try." The procedure took 6 hours. James worked with tools designed for field operations, calibrated for human physiology, modified on the fly for Zephyri biology. Kassathar assisted, grudging respect growing in his reptilian eyes as the human's hands won flesh. One metal moved with impossible precision. When the suppressor finally emerged, no larger than a grain of rice, it pulsed with malevolent red light before dying. James crushed it beneath his boot. Aliana's eyes opened. For a moment, nothing. Then her antennae shot upward, trembling violently. Her hands flew to her head. Her mouth opened in a soundless cry that became, impossibly, a voice. I hear ... everything. The medical bay's ambient hum. The air recyclers. Her father's crystalline skin chiming as he moved. James's steady breathing. The universe, pouring in. She wept. Thelvorian wept. Even Cassathar made a sound that might have been a sob. James stepped back, exhausted, his prosthetic arm aching from the strain. Welcome to the noise, kid. Later, as news of the procedure spread through the station, as other species brought forward their own mysterious cases of sensory loss, as the galaxy began to understand the true horror of what the Vorath had done, Aliana found James in the hydroponics bay. She didn't use her translator pad. She spoke, her voice uncertain but real. Why did you see it when no one else did? James looked up from his tomatoes, dirt under his fingernails. Because humans don't give up. We lost billions in that war, but we never stopped looking for ways to fight back. That instinct ... it doesn't turn off just because the shooting stopped. Aliana touched one of the sunflowers, listening to the rustle of its leaves, a sound she'd never known existed. My father says your species is dangerous, reckless, too unpredictable for civilized space. James smiled, tired but genuine. He's not wrong, but you're also the only one stubborn enough to question the obvious, to look for the enemy in the silence. She turned to him, her violet eyes bright. Thank you, James, for not accepting the galaxy's answer. As she left, James returned to his plants, his prosthetic hand gentle on the delicate stems. Above him, through the observation window, Earth hung in the distance, a blue marble that had spawned a species too stubborn, too audacious, too human to let the universe tell them what was impossible. And in the medical bay, 6 more patients were already scheduled for screening. The war might have ended, but humanity's real battle, the one against the galaxy's accepted limits, had just begun.